Hey everybody, Peter Kama here, Kama Real Estate Group at Keller Williams. It is, all right, here's the truth. It is Friday, and I really don't want to be on here right now. And this is all really, really raw, really, really raw. And listen, most of you guys are going to laugh at me because I don't have any major reason not to want to be on here. Just kind of a funk this morning. And I just walked out into the hallway and I yelled at Chad and Megan and said, all right, I need somebody to slap me, to unfunkify me. I need somebody to kind of push me around a little bit here because I'm just not feeling it today. I'm in a little bit of a frustrated mood with several things. And I got to thinking about it just in the last minute or so. You know, the reason we started doing Coffee Talk, was to build a little interaction, maybe put a face with a name to kind of learn about what the market wants and to share a little bit about who we are as real people and how we're fallible and how we make mistakes and how we too, just like you, have good days and bad days. And man, today I'll tell you what, this morning I'm off to a rough start. I'm just not feeling it, so to speak. So I could sit here and give you a bunch of baloney and just, fake it. But the truth is, I think it's more important for you to know that if you don't see that same sparkle in my eye, or you don't see the same pizzazz or the same preparation for Coffee Talk this week, I'm just like you. I'm just like you in that my day ebbs and flows. Now, I don't anticipate my whole day is going to be this. So I'm going to have an awesome day. I'm going to make sure of that. And it's nice to be in a world today where there's so much education out there about how your mind controls your world, and your attitude determines so many things in your life. And so I'm fortunate to have a good support system, my family and my work family, that I know that my day is going to turn around and that it's going to end up being a good day. But to tell you the truth, I really was not pumped up about jumping on here today. And maybe part of my therapy is just being on here a little bit, right? So maybe I need you more than you need me. And that's probably the case most weeks, quite frankly. And I forgot my cup. Hold on a second. All right. I say that because I just want you to know it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have a bad morning. It's okay not to always be right on top of your game. Be cognizant of it, get it turned back around, right? We tell our kids that on the baseball diamond. We tell our kids that on the basketball court. They're not always going to have it every night when they come to practice either, and we understand that. So anyhow, so it is Friday. It is 8:30. It is Coffee Talk time. It would be an abbreviated version of it. I do have some really interesting things to share with you. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about real quick is seasons of the not of your life, but seasons like fall, winter, spring. Being a New Englander, a guy that came from New England, fall is certainly my favorite time of the year, right? The leaves changing, football, just a little more crisp outside. The coffee just tastes better on a cool day to me. I'm curious. I know, Miranda, when you watch this later on today, I know you're gonna post that you're a summer girl. You love the beach. You love the heat. And for all of those of you that all winter long were like, we want 90, we want 100-degree days, I want to ask you, did you feel that way last week when it was 112 on the heat index? Because, man, that was brutal. Anyhow, we're in the dead middle of summer right now. The days are starting to shorten up just a little bit every single day, and we're heading towards fall. And training camp has started for the NFL. Super excited about fall getting here. And the real indication that fall has arrived is when all your friends start posting their Starbucks drinks that have pumpkin in them of some sort. But what's your favorite season? The other thing I wanted to mention to you was books. So right now I'm in the middle of reading 3 different books, two kind of business self-help kind of books, and then one just for fun. I love reading James Patterson, right? If I'm reading a fun book, I'll read James Patterson just because I'm a pretty simple guy. His books are pretty simple, but his chapters are really short. So I feel like I'm accomplishing something, right? Like a little 3-page chapter. The negative part about that is when you get to where I'm just going to read one more chapter. You read that, and he writes in such a way that captivates you that you want to learn. You want just a little bit more. I'm going to read another chapter. Next thing you know, you've read another 30 pages and another 10 chapters. But I'm curious, do you have a favorite go-to author? I feel like I'm almost have exhausted James Patterson's library at this point in time. Who's a go-to author in that realm that's kind of like a James Patterson? It's a good, easy, just a fun read. Do you have somebody for me? Share that with me. And then I'm going to share with you what I'm reading on the other side. So right now I'm reading a book called The No Complaining Rule, which is awesome because I just got done complaining this morning. But in that No Complaining Rule book, he talks about being accountable to your complaints and then turning those around, right? That we're going to complain, but it's okay to do so as long as you recognize it and turn that around. But the No Complaining Rule, it looks like it's a parable. Very much written like the Energy Bus was. Same author, actually. Very much written just like the Energy Bus was. And then the other book that I'm rereading right now is Profit First, a book that Gary Keller has recommended. And it's just about your accounting. If you're running a business, how you're accounting for the dollars and making sure that profit is the first piece of what you're doing and not what's left over. It's an interesting concept, somewhat controversial for some accountants, but I'm curious to know what you think about that. Real quick, I asked several people for their #1 real estate tip. After they've bought a house or sold a house, what is the one thing that you would tell somebody about that? And I've curated their top 4 items, right? Their top 4 tips. So here are your top 4 real estate tips. #1 for buyers: buy less than you can afford, just in case, right? And the just in case is Murphy's Law. What happens if, right? Dave Ramsey talks about having an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months. This is kind of an emergency fund built into your monthly expenses. So buy just slightly less house than you can afford in order to kind of protect yourself. I thought that was interesting. Don't just focus on the mortgage. This is actually a really important one. And it kind of falls in line with #1. When you, Dr. Seuss, I hear you, Adam. Listen, I feel like Dr. Seuss this morning sometimes. You got me off my game, Adam. Don't just focus on the mortgage, right? So there's other pieces when you're buying a house, right? Make sure that the HOA is factored into your monthly budget before you go falling in love emotionally with the house. We know, if you've watched me long enough or you've met with us, you know that people buy and sell based on emotion. The high majority of people are not pragmatic enough to make a decision based on solely just numbers. And so that's why we always talk about the fact that we got to capture people emotionally on the listing side. Well, once you've fallen in love with a house, you'll justify the HOA. You'll justify the maintenance costs. You'll justify the new roof that is needed in 5 years. You'll justify those things. Don't justify them. Come in like a business person that has emotions. Come in like a business person and make a good quality decision. And don't just focus on your monthly mortgage payment. Think about all the other expenses. Think about you've got to paint the house every 4 years, or you've got to change your filters every month, and you've got to change your water filter, or you've got to add salt pellets, or there's always some sort of maintenance, right? Getting leaves out of gutters. If they're in a place where you can't get them, you got to hire somebody to come out and do that. Washing your upstairs windows. Whatever your monthly, yearly costs are maintaining your home, factor that in as well. Pretty important. Visit a home at different times of day. I thought this was an interesting one. So natural light is so important to people. When you walk in, you talk to people, oh, I love the light in this house. You're going to hear that regularly. And I'm sure that if you stop and think about it, your favorite room in your house is probably one, unless it's like this really cool like theater room, is the natural light, the one that has the most natural light. It just happens to be that way. People are guided towards the light, right? So visit at different times of the day. This is really important, and this is more on the buy side again. Do not focus your offer solely on money all the time. There's other variables in the offer, right? How much are your deposits? How much are your non-refundable deposits versus your refundable deposits? Talk about closing date. What's important to the seller is really what we're getting at here. Find out what's most important to the seller, and you might be able to strengthen your offer with less money in other areas. And so sometimes it's the difference of you're flexible with your closing date, and that's really important to the seller. That might be worth $2,000, $3,000 in a negotiation. We see it all the time. So those are the top 4 tips that came. I'm going to give you one more. So let's say you fall in love with a house. Let's say you're out shopping and you're with one of our buyer specialists and you love the house. I've often said that people spend more time looking at cars than they do houses, right? If you're about to spend $200, $300, $400, $500,000+ on something and you go and you test drive it, you're there for maybe an hour one time. And all of a sudden you're going to spend your next, I don't know, in Wake County 5 years, but nationally 8 years in that house. And if you're going to do that, I suggest, much like it said there, one of the tips was to visit at different times of the day. I say visit different rooms. And by that, what I mean is when I was taking buyers out on a regular basis, if I would find out if you're a kitchen person or a living room family or where do you hang out? Where do you anticipate being? And let's go grab some lawn chairs. Especially if the house is empty. Let's go grab some chairs or go sit in their furniture. Grab a cup of coffee, grab something to eat, and just sit there and enjoy the house. Really feel the house, because if you're going to buy the house and be in love with it today, we want you to be in love with it 18 months from now when you're still writing out that mortgage payment. That's critical. And you'll see things the longer you spend in a house that may be of concern or that really make you happy. So there's your extra tip for the day. I hope you guys are doing great. Big weekend this weekend. Camden, my youngest son, gets to go with his baseball team up to the lake and spend some time with his buddies. And you know, it's a big weekend for him. And honestly, I miss when he's around. I told him this morning, I said, is there any way we could talk you into staying for the weekend? And that's just not the case. I'm starting to get to that point where he's my youngest, and they're starting to have kind of a social life, right? Starting to do their own things. And the more that they're away from home, the quicker I'm realizing they're both going to be gone pretty soon. So I hope you guys have a great weekend this weekend. Y'all think of me because I'll miss them. You guys take care, and we'll see you next week.